Hello, everybody. It's season 4. Yes, it's season 4 time. I'm really excited. I think I've got a pretty cool team. Since I guess this is my first time showing off this team, I don't think I'm gonna do a team preview video. I'll show you the mons that I've drafted here. I've got Vulcan, the Landorus Incarnate. We're not a Mickey Mouse league. We don't ban Sheer Force here. Um, I think this is going to be really cool with the mixed attacking stats. Pretty decent speed. I mean, it's not super fast, but it's fast enough to be a dangerous breaker. If the team doesn't have a good ground resist, well, it's kind of over. Um, to go with that, I've got Vesta, the Ogerpon Wellspring. Better speed tier, which is nice. Primarily physical attacker and uh, very solid grass water coverage. I really like this. I also like, Encore. There's a lot of good support moves that Ogerpon gets. It just needs Thunder Wave, honestly. Then it would be super shiced. Uh, probably, probably don't actually give it Thunder Wave. It would be pretty annoying with that. Um, then I've got Mars, the High Dragon. Get another Earthquake immunity on the team. Why not? We're kind of like the opposite in this, or sorry, not the opposite, and same idea as Landorus, where we have mixed attacking stats, an okay speed stat, probably going to be running Choice Scarf in a lot of games. In any case, uh, moving on, we got Venus, our fastest Pokemon on the team, Cinderace. I don't like Cinderace's Pyro Ball, as it's 90 accuracy move and it tends to miss when you need it to hit, and also Will-O-Wisp, but this is such a consistent pivot otherwise, and just has really nice utility with Will-O-Wisp and Court Change, and a nice speed tier as well that I needed it. Um, then we've got Neptune, my specially defensive wall here, Empoleon. Water Steel is a really interesting type. It gets you a lot of resistances that you would maybe want, like a Fairy resist, a Poison resist, Water, Ice is a big one as well. Um, I like the utility that this Mon gets: Stealth Rocks, Flip Turn. It has Aqua Jet for priority. It's primarily a special attacker, and gets okay special attacking moves like Grass Knot, Ice Beam, Steel Beam could be interesting, and Agility to boost its speed. It doesn't have a great speed stat, but this times 2, well, that's outspeeding a lot. Um, could be interesting. We'll have to see. Competitive is really cool. Um, Minerva, my Florges, I'm running it back with Florges this time. I needed a good defensive fairy type, and Florges was just the one that happened to be left when it came back to me. Not to say I don't like Florges. I love that it gets Synthesis and Wish together, um, which you'll probably see that coming up when we look at the team. And it's just, you know, very solid defensively. The one thing is it's really lacking in coverage. Like if up against a steel type, it has no moves to hit. Used to get Mystical Fire, does not anymore, so that's a shame. But we're gonna have to take it. Then we have Drift Blim, or Jupiter, who is one of my Terra captains. I believe I picked Flying, Electric, and Fighting. Fighting and Electric give some pretty good coverage, and are also pretty good defensively, particularly Electric. I'm going to drop all my weaknesses, just have a weakness to ground, but that's okay, because, I mean, force that 50-50 where you can't really go for the ground type move predicting the Terra Electric, because if I don't Terra Electric, then, well, I'm completely immune. But this is another mixed attacker. With Unburdened, you can actually make this speed go really crazy. But I also like Will-O-Wisp. I like Destiny Bond. I like Knockoff, Strength Sap. Could be good. Thunder Wave, Trick, a lot of really good utility, but you could also just run Calm Mind with Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, Terra Blast even, if I'm going to go for the fighting coverage. This is a really powerful Pokemon if it gets positioned the right way, so I'm cool with that. Now I've got Hariyama. Hariyama's an interesting pick. I feel like it sometimes goes underrated. It's got Thick Fat to be a fire and an ice resist if you need that. I do have a little bit of an ice weakness on this team with Landorus, Hydreigon, and Drifblim. Some of my power mons here, all being weak to ice. Also, Vesta, the Ogerpon, being weak to freeze dry. So I just wanted like another like pure ice resist, and this is pretty good. Unfortunately, mons like Kyurem and Weavile are not on anybody's teams, and this would be Hariyama would stomp them, frankly. Especially if I had Terra Fairy, for example, but I digress. Bullet Punch for priority is really nice, but primarily like being able to threaten Bulk Up or Belly Drum sweeps. Do you get Belly Drum anymore? Yes. It's just, I guess it's in the usually useless move category now, huh? Yeah, that's crazy. It's really nice. Against a priority spam team, I could also run Guts to like punish spamming burns and Thunder Waves and things like that. Whirlwind is a nice little tech move to get rid of any would-be boosters. I think this is just going to be overall a decent matchup fish type of pick. Then I've got Telos the Rhyperior, who is a really strong Terra captain. For this, I've got Terra Rock, Terra Dragon, and Terra Flying. I would have picked Terra Ground. I have to pick one stab type per our rules, but I decided Rock because there might be some matchups coming up here where a Rock type is like with a really strong Rock moves would just blitz the team. And also I like the idea of being able to Terra out of an ice weakness, where my other two Terra options, Dragon and Flying, are both ice weak. So that keeps a would-be Ice Beam spammer on their toes. This just gets good coverage overall. Terra Flying is actually more an offensive pick idea. Like, yes, it's being immune to Earthquake is really nice, but having a Terra Blast Flying to click against a fighting type could also be really good. So I'm going to keep that one in mind. And then finally, I've got Ariados, or Juno, who is my Weber, also my grounded poison type. I don't know how great it's going to be at doing all of those things, but it is a really cool Pokemon that has a lot of really cool options on it. It can be a little tricky, like things like Knockoff, things like Sucker Punch, Shadow Sneak, Toxic Spikes, straight up Toxic. It can do some crazy things. Granted, it's got pretty low defenses, so it's probably going to die a lot of the time, but like as a suicide lead, I mean, you could do worse. But yeah, that's the team. But let's not delay any longer and go on to what I actually made for the sake of my draft opponent. So I've got, I'm scrolling through and you can see the team here. I just want to note that you can do this, upload to PokePaste right at the bottom. I don't know if you're watching this and you don't know what this is, but this will put the, whoops, I lost my tab. Where am I? There we go. I just want to note this in case you don't know, and this is a great spot to like do a visualization of your team. If you wanted to show somebody your team, this is really easy for people to see. You can just highlight and copy and paste this. Like if I needed to put this into, let's just try that now. If I need to put it into the damage calculator, I already have these sets in, but I could say clear imported, reload, and then I don't have any sets in, but I can just copy and paste from this, import, there we go, and then show my imported sets, and this is exactly the sets that I'm running here. I'll go into a little bit of an explanation for some of these. Landorus, and how many other Pokemon on my team? There are a few that I just have. Who is it? Maybe Landorus is the only one. Okay. Landorus, I have faster than Keldeo. Well, a modest Keldeo. So I guess timid Keldeo would outspeed me still, but this is good enough for me because Psychic is threatening to do a lot of damage to Keldeo. I don't know if it's a guaranteed kill, it probably depends on the set, but any chipped Keldeo is going to take a lot from Psychic, and I don't really mind taking a Vacuum Wave in return. I resist it. I've got pretty good special defense and a little bit of investment into it. The special defense there is more so to maybe switch into like a Darkrai Dark Pulse in a pinch. Not that I really want to do that. I mean, I'm not going to beat Darkrai anyway. It's almost certainly going to run Ice Beam, but the special defense is just, I thought, more useful against this team where it's got a lot of really strong special attackers. The Cinderace is a little interesting. So this amount of speed ties max speed Thundurus. I don't anticipate that my opponent is going to bring completely max speed Thundurus, but I can rest assured that I will be faster than Thundurus as long as it's not clicking a prankster move. I could have maybe done like Sucker Punch on this, maybe to like go dark, and then if he tries a prankster move, then I will be immune to it. But I decided I wanted these moves. Pyro Ball is just my strong stab, and Fire is pretty good into his team. I think he's got 4 Fire Weeks. Granted, I don't know how many of them are actually going to come to this game, but being able to hit those is just really good. U-turn is just good momentum. Court change in case he tries to stack hazards. Mostly like if he gets rocks up before I do with his Excadrill, then maybe I could come in and if I have a free turn, throw them back to him. I believe he has spikes and toxic spikes on his team. Although pretty limited in the mons that can do it. Let me actually check. Oh, here's my prep doc, by the way, that you can put in all these teams that you're going to face. For the sake of this, I'm going to show you League 1 is where I have this team's matchup. Okay, actually, I forgot that he does not have Toxic Spikes. He does have Klefki, though, 4 spikes, which, like, yeah, that could be really important. And Zen Headbutt here with 8 attack investment and Libero is actually a guaranteed 2-hit KO on a no investment leftovers Keldeo. So I will KO through the leftovers. How likely is that to come? I'm not sure, but if there's maybe some HP investment, no leftovers Keldeo that could be coming, and just going for a solid Zen Headbutt is really nice. And then the rest is mostly HP and special defense. This is so that I can live Darkrai and get my U-turn or Pyro Ball off. It's also, if I'm a Psychic type, I'm not going to take very much at all from a Keldeo Vacuum Wave. So I thought this was really good. Next, I've got Minerva, my Florges, which is a mostly defensive Florges. I have enough speed to get to 200, which I think speed creeps one of my own Pokemon. Who is that? Hariyama. So this base 50 Hariyama, I don't know if he's going to anticipate a 252 speed Hariyama. I am running close to that, actually, as you can see this here. But just in case he is, I'm speed creeping that. And I've got Moonblast, Synthesis, Wish, Calm Mind. With 2 healing moves and Calm Mind, I can 1v1 a Sinistcha, especially if it's not Terra Steel. If it is Terra Steel, I have options for that as well. But as long as it doesn't get like too crazy out of control with its boosts. But I do like that just this set. It's pretty consistent. If I can get in versus something that does not 2-hit KO me, I could just win the game with it. So just very solid in general. Tellus, Rhyperior. This is my Stealth Rocker. I've got Terra Dragon, Lumberry with Earthquake and Stone Edge coverage. I mean, Edgequake is just good, especially into this team. I've got 16 speed. I don't quite remember what that is. I think it's faster than some like Smogon set version of Glastria. I think that's how I was told it was pronounced, Glastria. Anyway, that's actually what counter is for. Countering a Ice Cold Crash or an Avalanche is putting it all the time into Earthquake range. Unless it's like a min attack, max defense Glastria. But if that's the case, then I'm just not really scared of it at all. Lumberry is to stop Burn from like a Matcha Gotcha or a Will-O-Wisp from Sinistcha, but also a Thunder Wave from Thundurus after I Terra. I might not Terra, in which case that Lumberry's not useful in that sense, but I could see Lumberry being useful anyway. Then I've got Drifblim, Terra Electric with mostly defense and enough speed that if I get an Unburden boost, I think I'll be faster than Darkrai. I may also be faster than a Scarf Gyapdos, I think. Not sure. But Hex, Knock, Willow, Strength Sap. This is mostly just a support set. I picked Electric because it gives me a resist to Brave Bird. In case I really need Drifblim to handle Gyapdos. I don't anticipate having to Terra, but I might. If I can get the Will-O-Wisp, if I can get my Strength Saps off on his physical attackers, it'll just really neuter them. And a good knockoff on something like Darkrai. If I can knock off a Choice Scarf, knowing him, he's going to cheat his speed. So I might be able to actually outspeed with something like Cinderace or maybe even Landorus if he's cheating that much on a speed stat. In any case, I think this is going to be good utility. And finally, we've got Hariyama, who's Assault Vest, Guts, just in case we're getting burned or paralyzed, and just basically all the moves that you would want on a Assault Vest Hariyama. I did opt for Headlong Rush, just to get even more damage on a potential switch in to like whoever's fearing a ground type move. Close combat is going to hit a lot of this team. Knockoff is going to be really good, and Bullet Punch is just priority in case I need to finish off something that's at low health. I think this is going to be a pretty solid team. It did pretty well in mocks, and I just hope that I don't get hacked. I think that's one of the things that might go bad is if Cinderace misses that Pyro Ball when it needed to hit it, or if I'm forced to click a Focus Blast. That that could be bad. But regardless, I'm feeling good about this. So let's go into the battle. Okay, here we are into the battle. I've got the versus Darkrai. I guess technically versus Dusknoir. Music from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. I hated that dungeon so much. The Darkrai dungeon where you're forced to use Cresselia, who's gonna eat all of your Reviver Seeds because Cresselia is so ass. Um, but I digress. What we see here is a team that's actually not very weak to ground moves, to be honest. We've got immunity in Zapdos, we have immunity in Thundurus, we have Sinistcha who resists, only one ground weak. Nevertheless, Landorus just looks really, really good, because if I click the right move against all of these, it's going to be really bad for him. Like even Thundurus is probably getting 2-shot by Psychic. Darkrai gets 1-shot by Focus Blast and does not want to switch into Earth Power. And it's kind of the same dealio for everybody except for Sinistcha, because Sinistcha is broken. In any case, let's see what I do for turn 1. I think I probably lead Rhyperior. Yep. So he goes to Gyarados. I'm anticipating that this is going to be a Scarf Gyarados, and looking at the calc there, it looks like it's 252 attack. I just switched to Driftblim mostly to stop Gyarados from being able to do anything, and also if it was Scarfed, Thunderous Kick is just not doing anything at all. But it also functions as a pretty good spin blocker into Excadrill, which is really good. I do burn, but he gets the Lumberry, which is good for me to know that, because it means that nothing else on the team has Lumberry. I go for Strength Sap onto the incoming Darkrai, which is not that helpful, and I go to Hariyama, who gets Psyshock for 72. That's actually pretty bad for me. Hari could have been really good at coming in and forcing a switch by, clicking close combat into this, or just getting a knockoff on something like Sinistcha, who might switch in. But I'm just forced to sack it here. I could have went to something like Florges, but Florges, if it's got Sludge Bomb, I'm just in a bad spot. I go to Cinderace because I know I can live a Dark Pulse, and I'm daring him to go for it because I know that my U-turn will kill unless he's like a crazy defensive Darkrai set. Which I'm just going to go for U-turn. It's pretty free. This gives me back to Driftblim, and I can click a pretty free Will-O-Wisp here. He goes to Sinistcha. Sinistcha has Heat Proof, so it's going to take half the damage from Burn. Then he switches to Darkrai. I go for Hex. I get a little bit of chip on Darkrai, which is fine. I predict his Ice Beam. I was not sure what he would go for, but I was kind of fine to sack this. If he went for Dark Pulse, it certainly would have killed, but I didn't necessarily want him to Nasty Plot, and I did live an Ice Beam, so I was down to go for this. I knock off, hoping that I could get rid of a good item, and I did get rid of his Choice Scarf, which was a big deal. He goes for Psyshock, I guess anticipating me to switch into Florges. I did not. I was perfectly fine to get my Wisp off. And I Hex, which puts him into dead to burn range, which is good enough for me. I don't have to deal with Darkrai anymore. I go to Rhyperior here, who is not great into Sinistcha, so I'll go into Florges. Florges is actually looking like it could win this game pretty easily if I could get rid of the Excadrill. But the good thing here is that with a Wish and a switch to Rhyperior, I'm back to full health, and then I'm threatening to do all my nasty Rhyperior things. I go get my rocks back up. Goes for Matcha Gotcha. Doesn't really get much out of that. Misses a Matcha Gotcha even. I set up a Wish. I think he's just fishing to get the burn, which is 100% reasonable. This is why I go to Cinderace. I know Cinderace can't get burned. I don't necessarily want to stay in though, so I'm gonna U-turn. I'm worried about a Calm Mind Sinistcha. If I let Sinistcha get way too many Calm Minds, then Florges actually will just not beat it anymore. So I'm trying to play around that. That's a lose con for me. So, you know, you have to when you're in this situation down one Pokemon, I cannot let my opponent get his win con off. So I'm just gonna U-turn. I go to Landorus. I know I live a Brave Bird. It actually does quite a bit of damage, but getting rid of this is good. He goes to Thundurus, and I was anticipating a special attacking Thundurus. And I was calcing it, and it looked like the only move he could have clicked to kill me was Psychic. And I said I'm fine to make him roll that, but he actually goes for Knockoff, which suggests to me that he's a physical Thundurus, which is not that good for my Florges. I would have preferred him to be a special one. But it is okay for my Rhyperior, so I will go to Rhyperior, and I'm threatening Stone Edge here, which will definitely kill. And I miss the Stone Edge. But I'm going to go for Stone Edge again. It just seems like it's a really good move, and I miss it again. He knocked off my Lumberry, by the way, so I really, really cannot afford to stay in to a Matcha Gacha. He does go for another Matcha Gacha, again, just fishing for a burn. He does get the burn, which is annoying. It's not the end of the world, though. I go for a Moonblast, just trying to get some chip. Also, I want my Florges to get the Wish rather than any other Pokemon, because everybody else is still pretty healthy. I'm using Wish again. In case he switches out, then I can switch and be safe. Goes to Excadrill. I hard read this switch and go to Rhyperior. He goes for Iron Head, I guess anticipating me to switch back to Florges. And then he stays in and lets me Earthquake this, which I think is a horrendous misplay by my opponent. Now, Florges wins the game. Like, short of Glastrier, like, doing something, like, ridiculous, between these three, I'm sure I could beat Glastrier, and as long as Florges is at good health, that doesn't die to Thundurus, it will just win the game. So I think that was a major misplay by my opponent. Goes for Icicle Crash, and I go for Counter, and he gets the flinch, which completely bails him out. Counter would have killed him dead. I said, okay, this is fine. He misses his Icicle Crash into Cinderace, which is nice. I Pyro Ball into his Terra Fire. He Bulldozes, which does over half. I'm still faster, so I get my U-turn off. I go to Florges, who takes this Bulldoze. I'm anticipating that he's going to have Heavy Slam, so I switch back to Cinderace, which lives it. Good. Zen Headbutt, and I miss. That's really bad because Zen Headbutt would have put him into, like, potentially into Moonblast range. I go for Synthesis. Heavy Slam just kills. I maybe should have tried to attack him head on. I maybe could have went to Rhyperior as well to see if I would have outsped, but I didn't. But yeah, that's just really unfortunate. Yeah, this turn here, this is absolutely game defining. It completely changed the tide of the game. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yes, I could have played around it, as it were, but, like, what do you want me to do? I can't, yes, I could have ran more speed, maybe, but I didn't want, I wanted to have enough bulk to live certain things that were pertinent to this matchup. So, like, what am I gonna do? Absolutely nothing. My opponent after this said, well, if you just ran Covert Cloak, I said, yeah, but yeah, I mean, you knocked off the item anyway. It doesn't matter. That wouldn't have mattered at all. Yeah. I mean, maybe I could have maybe made a play like Zen Headbutt here to fish for my own flinch hacks. Also anticipate the Terra Fire better and I'll take less damage from Bulldoze. Um, I mean, but I don't know. I was just like that put me into a really bad position. Also, him dodging the Stone Edge onto his Thunderous so that he gets a free knockoff for like no drawback to him is also really bad. Um, I could have played maybe a little more aggressive with my Cinderace against this Glastrier. Um, if that was the case, I don't know if that would have necessarily changed the outcome of what happens here, but like that was big that he had a sack that he could play too for nothing. And then this Sinistcha didn't even have Calm Mind, um, which I know from him showing me his paste. So I know that the Sinistcha was not going to win the game at the end, but this just the hacks is just unbelievable. I mean, I was fortunate to dodge like one Icicle Crash, not that it made any difference, especially when I just missed the Zen Headbutt. Like, there's just nothing you can do, really. Yeah. So, I did not say GG. This was not a good game. I was completely robbed. No, but I mean, I've definitely robbed some people in some of our games, as we know if we go back through the archives. So maybe this is just karma at this point. I feel like I've definitely been on the luckier side when it comes to hacks. And it just like happens like it didn't go my way this time. There's some people will say, don't run moves like Stone Edge or Pyro Ball or whatever, but I say like, if you put yourself in the position that like clicking it will win you the game, like you got to go for it, right? You can't be like you can't be running Smackdown and Flame Charge to get around these inaccuracies, right? You're not going to win the game like that. And so I rolled the dice and I lost. And he also rolled the dice and like completely hit the goob nut on me. Like what that it just happens like that sometimes. But thankfully, we know that my team will absolutely dumpster his team when it comes to playoff time because he really don't have anything for Rhyperior. If I can hit a Stone Edge. um, but that's just my cope. And yeah, with that, I think we'll leave off. 0-1 feels really bad, but I will hope to bounce back next week versus my next opponent. And we'll see you then.